And these are all my thoughts. My understanding may be flawed in case because I have no expertise in technology. Zero, in fact. I'm very bad with technological kind of advances. I'm usually very outdated when it comes to owning devices. Um, and I dare not to say that I have any technical expertise. However, the reason I ended up picking up this topic is because I was invited when I was here last year in UK. I was invited to participate in a panel discussion. The panel discussion was about impact of artificial intelligence in modern world, and my role was to talk about, from a Sanatana Dharma perspective, and I had to scratch my head as to figure out how do I go about, and through the brainstorming, some thoughts came out, and the panel discussion went quite well, and I believe I've been able to make some useful contribution in that. So this was in Edinburgh, in the Hindu Mandir at Edinburgh last year. So thereafter, I never made any formal presentation, although I put my thoughts, written them down, and I thought it's a good opportunity to share my thoughts and see how that comes across. So it is a conceptual kind of a presentation. I'll start with actually have a few headings. So there would be a creator of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, by definition, as the name suggests, it is a parallel automated intelligence process. And if I translate it into Sanskrit, it will be Kritima Buddhi. It is an art, Kritima being artificial and Buddhi being intelligence. And it's an important word to address here because as part of Vedanta, we have Indriyas, which are the senses, which are all external organs of perception. And we have the Antakarana, the internal organs of um, processing. So the internal organs are Buddhi, Ahankara, Manas, and Chitta. Among all these, Buddhi at the end is the most, is the king among all these. In a way, it is the master of all the uh, organs of perception and organs of interpretation or processing. Um, so it's already there as part of the Vedantic kind of understanding. So we're not introducing something alien here. And it is recognized, intelligence is recognized, as I said, to be the master. Perhaps the only thing above in that hierarchy would be the Atma or the soul. So therefore, artificial intelligence is something which has to be created, but it has the potential to be automated. It can just work on its own. But the point is, it has to be created by another intelligence, which is original in its thinking and is naturally illuminated with ideas. Others may define it differently, but this is how it came to me. So when I say that it has to be created by somebody who is original in their thinking and naturally illuminated with ideas, the immediate thought that comes to my mind is the description of the omnipotent cosmic intelligence. The omnipotent cosmic intelligence is supposedly, of course, I'll be borrowing ideas, as the title says, from Sanatana Dharma scriptural kind of understandings. So the cosmic intelligence is a sarvasakshi, which is all witnessing. It knows what all is happening. It is a swayam prakashaka, which is self illuminated. And it is a Nitya Chaitanya. It is eternal intelligence. It is always there. In fact, it is the intelligence which permeates everything. So, according to the darshanas or our various kind of Vedantic philosophical treatises, um, we have a concept called as Purusha. Now, Purusha also translates to Atma. And so, Purusha is the one who is this intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, which permeates through everything that has been created. So it provides the backdrop of the intelligence in an otherwise inert matter called Jada Padartha. Jada means lifeless material. So the entire creation is supposedly that inert material, and the Purusha or the cosmic intelligence is actually giving life to this kind of inert creation. And as it permeates everything that is part of this creation, it not only gives life or motion or the movement, it provides the intelligence as well. So the intelligence aspect comes from that. A parallel would be, for instance, we think of a robot, and a robot is a machine. Let us say it's nicely kind of built up with out of plastic, but somebody has to put the program chip in it, right? And the program chip is the one which actually makes it intelligent. So we can draw parallels there quite easily. So this is what which comes to my mind immediately as I think of me as a human still has to create an artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence won't be created. Otherwise, it has to be created by somebody who is original in their thinking. And as I said, is illuminated naturally. I didn't use the word there self-illuminated. Initially, I used it, but I removed it and put naturally or biologically. So naturally illuminated with ideas. So the presentation may go a little slow because there are words which are heavily loaded. And please stop me in between if you feel we need to have some clarifications. So therefore, all it means is that the creator can choose what the created intelligence can be like. So that's an interesting aspect. Um, Imagine whether it is the cosmic intelligence or any other next wave of persons like humans. When we are creating something new or artificial intelligence, we can choose how that created intelligence can be like. So therefore, technically, there could be biases in how this creator chooses it to be. For instance, if somebody is dharmic in their outlook, so the new intelligence, the artificial intelligence would be dharmic in its framework. So dharma prevails over adharma if that is the case, or the suras over the asuras. Just giving you some examples. So sura is godly, or yeah, that's all I can say. Asuras are the demonly. Okay, spiritualism over materialism, or it could be the vice versa. So whereby somebody who is adharmic in their outlook, original in their thinking, naturally illuminated with adharmic ideas, they would create an artificial intelligence which is adharmic in nature, materialistic in its outlook, overriding the spiritual kind of inclination. So it is entirely possible that the creator can choose how the created intelligence behaves. So coming to the biases and narratives in artificial intelligence, how does this actually come about? For instance, I believe artificial intelligence is in things like chat GPT, and such kind. It is the data which you actually kind of put in it. And when the data is put in, the intelligence actually gives you responses according to how it has been fed with the information, the various sources. So the outcome is therefore going to be only based on what data it has been fed with. Hence, naturally, whoever feeds the data, they are likely to use their narratives and their biases if they are not careful, if they're not objective. And then the result could be a narrative which um, a dominant force can bring into existence, whereas the others are just having to passively receive it because they have not participated in this exercise of building the artificial intelligence. I hope you are able to follow what I'm saying. So biases and narratives in artificial intelligence are, so the earlier thing which I said, the creator can choose what intelligence is being created. It's relevant because humans are the creators of artificial intelligence, and therefore they can similarly bring in their own biases based on what they consider to be right or what they have been trained in. Okay. It may happen unknowingly. I'm not saying they deliberately do it. It may happen deliberately, but that's like in the movies where we see the science fiction movies where the villains actually deliberately wish to take control of the world and so on. But we are mostly talking about subconscious biases or the way we train ourselves with. So as we know, in the field of research, there are what are known as publication biases. So in research publication bias, for instance, one of the examples is the language bias. Um, English being the predominant language, and most journals are in English, and when research is conducted in English, they are easier to be able to access these journals as opposed to other languages. For instance, European, if somebody does research in a European language purely, or an African language, or an Asian language, you name it, they are less likely to be able to get an opportunity to publish in mainstream English um, research journals. And these are biases of the system. You just can't avoid it. And it is a well-known bias as well. So here we can see an example where there's already some selection going on, what gets to be published or what reaches the public interface at the end of the day. Not everything is able to kind of reach. Okay, so this is just one example of how there could be bias. Similarly, if data is not obtained from original sources, because in artificial intelligence, I'll give you an example. Let us say somebody wants to know about Mahabharata. They write in chat GPT. And somebody has to feed in the data about Mahabharata. Now assume if Mahabharata data is fed from an English translation or translations from the original Sanskrit text, but it is not there in Sanskrit itself. So there's already some aspects lost in translation. So similarly, if for instance we pick the language of Telugu and let us say for instance Potana Bhagavatam, which is written in Telugu, if it is originally as it is in Telugu, the Telugu data is fed into the artificial intelligence, the response is likely to be different as opposed to its translation. So there's already again another issue where if you are not participating in building the artificial intelligence using your own primary original data or the source, you end up consuming the indirect data even for your own need or benefit. So this is just one example again of how even a simple aspect like language and the original data, the language in which the original data exists, if it is not included in this exercise of building artificial intelligence, it leads to problems as we are represented by someone else who has not experienced the civilizational thought process. And as a teacher and promoter of Samskritam, for me, it makes sense that data needs to be presented in its original form and not through translation. Because I see the difference there. I can see the huge difference when it comes to interpreting the original Sanskrit text versus the translation. Similarly, historical colonial narratives and current narratives, there are several streams of thinking or political thinking nowadays. For instance, religion is one of them, liberalism, wokeism. They can all dictate what data is fed into this artificial intelligence. So one may argue that if the dharmic humans create artificial intelligence, dharma prevails. And if adharmics create it, adharma prevails. It's as simple as that. Now, okay, I'll pause here in case anybody wishes to say anything or you
Yeah,
able?
good morning, Sastry.
Good morning, yeah.
Yeah, you presented, you started with this, first of all, you started with this, what is behind the cosmic intelligence? The cosmic intelligence is nothing but the causeless cause.
Mm-hmm,
So, that's where we all start, and it is always behind everything that you started. And obviously, the and I think you just started regarding the artificial intelligence,
mm-hmm,
because the source of artificial intelligence needs to be checked,
mm,
because if it is not consuming the original form, whatever it is in the language, that
mm,
means if it is Sanskrit, it has to take it from Sanskrit. Somebody has to give whatever that is there in Sanskrit to the artificial intelligence. Then only it can present the exact meaning. Like that, if it is translated into English or something like that, the resultant effect may not be the exact fact. This is all about truth. So
mm,
when you wanted to find the truth needs to come in a very pure form. You cannot
mm,
get it into other forms.
mm.
I think that's where you are starting. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah.
starting that thing.
Thanks for
That I am clear.
summarizing that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions before I proceed? Okay, all right.
Sastri, just
Yeah, yeah, Ramu. Yes.
uh, you mean to say the artificial intelligence is incomplete, flawed, and biased. That's what the bottom line is.
I wouldn't say that. Artificial intelligence is obviously um, a work in progress and it has the potential, as I would say in the later part of my presentation. Artificial intelligence has theoretically the potential to match cosmic intelligence if it evolves to
Yeah,
that level.
yeah,
It may be flawed initially because it is very much right now, it may be a new concept and therefore Yeah, all those things. But yeah, otherwise, sky is the limit.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay.
Okay, so then we look at um, how do we define truth? Because just now, very nicely, Dr. Chakravarti has touched upon the idea that our quest is, to find out the truth. So whatever makes us reach the truth, because why is artificial intelligence being used? Because of the predictability and accuracy with which it can actually do a lot of things. I haven't used much of ChatGPT, but the little bit I have used, it is phenomenal. It's quite amazing how it synthesizes and gives you so much information which is relevant and useful, the way it structures as well. And um, so yeah, so therefore truth is what we are looking for. So how is it defined? Who defines it? So these are two important questions that came to my mind. Um, so I thought I would look at the concept of vidya and avidya here. So because whatever we do, ultimately this will keep coming back. Why? Because truth, as per the concept of vidya, is something which is beyond sensory comprehension, something which is beyond logical inference, and something which is constant, timeless, unchanging. And is there anything like that in this world? Hardly much. So there are a few things which come close to it. For instance, the very concept of time, then space, these come close to that level of truth as described by Vidya, because time is not something which we can perceive with senses, but we know it as a concept. Space is something which we can't feel or touch. It is there and we can't smell it. But it exists, and I'm sure it existed eternally. So if this is the truth, everything else is relative truth. For instance, a tree is a relative truth because it is not eternal. It comes and goes. A human is relative truth. You can feel factually, you can check, verify, and so on. So everything else that is created is the relative truth or avidya. It has this tendency to be transient and not everlasting. So this is one way of understanding the truth. So whatever in the material world that we actually deal with and that we feed into artificial intelligence comes into the whole concept of avidya, where the data is perceived, logically inferred, and so on. It's not to say that it is wrong. Just because it is an opposite, it doesn't mean that one is good and one is bad. These are two coins, two sides of the coin of what we can call as truth. So those who would like to, those who are able to kind of comprehend the concept of Vidya, transcend the material existence and the factual evidence-based kind of logical inference, and are comfortable in the concept of Vidya and consider that only to be the truth. Whereas those who think that is all wishy-washy, I'm not interested in what is not seen, what is not observed, and what is not logically inferred. I'm not at all interested in it. I'm very comfortable with what I therefore consider as avidya, so be it. But this is how it's going to be. This is one way to understand truth. As I said, because the title is obviously artificial intelligence, cosmic intelligence, and Sanatana Dharma, I will borrow some ideas to put forward what Vidya and Avidya means here. So from the Upanishads, Andham tamah pravishanti yah avidyam upasate. One who takes refuge in avidya enters into darkness of ignorance. If it is a little loaded, in other words, what it means is it takes you away from the self-enlightening knowledge. So this is important because self-enlightening knowledge is not something you're going to get if you start becoming dependent on artificial intelligence. Again, we go back to the concept of chat GPT. If for every question that you have, rather than you enlightening yourself or you inquiring yourself, you just enter the question into chat GPT and get the answer and say, oh, okay, this is the answer. And you train yourself to do that. You are taking yourself away from the self-enlightening knowledge. You are not actually making an effort there. Okay. Vidyaya amritam ashnute. Through vidya or through absolute knowledge, one reaches immortality. Again, the word immortality is not just about life. It is a state of awareness where nothing matters anymore. Okay, so this is again going to be running head on. It's like a head on collision when it comes to self enlightenment and artificial intelligence related kind of quest for truth. And what is humans' role in the world of artificial intelligence? How do we understand the role of humans if artificial intelligence does all that the human mind can do? Again, here I will borrow the concept of karma, akarma, and vikarma, which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So, karma is the actions that we need to do or to be done. Akarma is inaction. Vikarma is forbidden actions. Is there anything called as forbidden actions? So, the way karma also can be understood is whatever as per the Shastras has been accepted as required actions for your progression, for your own kind of benefit or spiritual progression, you can say those are karma. And now that includes mundane day-to-day functions of the body which are to be done. That also includes mundane family, societal kind of obligations as well. So it's understood. Now, inaction is something which somebody resorts to because action is complicated for them, or action, they feel it's too much of a responsibility, or it's just that they are lethargic and their personality is such that they just can't find motivation to do anything. Forbidden actions are indulgence, basically. That's where we can leave it. Indulging into sensory pleasures, obsessing over something, they are all going to come under the forbidden actions. Not to just kind of talk about some vices or anything. Indulgence in itself would be forbidden action. Again, why is it important? We talk about it, we'll look at it. So for artificial intelligence to be called artificial, it has to have a creator who has a creative ability. Perhaps we'll come to that action part later. So this created artificial intelligence is therefore a tool in the hands of the creator for it to do what it is supposed to do. Which means that if this artificial intelligence is optimized, it functions accurately without fail and can repeat itself without fatigue. So once we are so comfortable relying on artificial intelligence and we create it, we actually make it. Why do we want it? We want to make life easy. Why are we making cars more and more sophisticated? Why are we having cars with safety devices and automated driving assistance and all that? We're trying to make those machines safe, easy to use, predictable, so that when you eventually drive on the fast motorways and so on, you can happily not touch the steering and the car does all the job. That is artificial intelligence. So we are trying to create these tools to reach a stage where they are optimized to function accurately without fail. And the best part is we fatigue, right? If we repeat ourselves, if we pick up a hammer and keep breaking stones into pieces, after a while our muscles fatigue. If we sit with a computer and start figuring out data analysis and so on, our mind fatigues. But a machine is not going to fatigue at all. And the best part is because it doesn't fatigue, it continues to deliver results accurately. So we can already see how useful such technological advances are. So imagine if we therefore um, develop such a system, we will start using less of our action automatically. So that's the whole point. Whatever actions we are supposed to do, action includes thought as well, because that is also action. You need to think. Instead, you are allowing somebody else to think for yourself. You need to move from one place to the other. You're allowing something else to take you from a place to another place. So, well, therefore, actions are going to reduce and you will enter into the zone of inaction. So that's where we are going to consider that to be an important aspect to think about. Now, we'll also look at how this whole idea of instrument and the optimization of the instrument. We earlier saw that an optimal instrument is going to perform without fail, never fatigues. In fact, it has no emotions as well, right? In fact, it has no memory of what it has done in the past. For us, if we have done something terribly wrong in the past, that memory lingers in and it may affect our performance. For an instrument or an optimized instrument, none of these matter. So is there a mention of it? Yes, there is a mention of something like that. If you look at Bhagavad Gita again, a nimitta. A nimitta is something where it is an instrument through which the cosmic design works. The cosmic design actually works in such a way that everything naturally flows through these instruments. But if the instrument actually perfects themselves, even a human can be an instrument of action. If the human can actually perfect himself or herself to be a nimitta, then what they're ultimately doing is they're able to stay away from emotional biases and perform actions without attachment to the result. So this is how it can be understood. Now, again, going back to the action inaction part, I know things may get a little heavy as I'm talking about these things. Pardon me if they sound a little heavy. We are, as I said, once we optimize artificial intelligence, we will reach a stage where we surrender to it. Automatically, we surrender to it because it is so efficient, we surrender. We don't need to kind of think twice, doubt it anymore because it will do its job without fail. So that is surrender. I'll give you an example of, let us say, for instance, again, going back to the car, for instance, the car of 10 years ago, a decade ago, to car, let us say, in future of 20 years from now. That car, you would have to keep holding the steering and make sure that you make all the moves yourself. You are not trusting the car at all. Now you reached a stage where it is in autopilot, but it is still not perfect science. It's not perfect yet. So you still have some doubts. Will the cruise control work properly? Will it brake efficiently at the right place? So I'm still vigilant. I'm not able to surrender to it yet. So that's the whole point. But maybe 20 years down the line, when the machine is optimized, I would develop the confidence to completely surrender. I will not even worry about sitting in it anymore. So that's complete surrender. So when we surrender, we may choose to surrender ourselves to something else that could be cosmic knowledge or the Parabrahman. Or we could surrender to the artificial intelligence. Or we may not even surrender at all. It is entirely our choice. But there will come a point when we may surrender to this entire thing. So when you're surrendering yourself to the cosmic knowledge of the Parabrahman, the ownership is not truly being shifted to someone else or something else but yourself, because you are the Brahman. So that's again the Vedantic concept, right? So I am the Brahman. When I'm surrendering to the Parabrahman, unlike the religious concept of surrendering to an external God, that's different. Here you're surrendering to the cosmic intelligence, which is you. It is just that you have forgotten who you are in your life journey thus far. So when we are surrendering to the cosmic intelligence, you are naturally surrendering to the self within, and you're not shifting your ownership to someone else or something else. That's not happening. Actually, it may appear to be surrendering to somebody else, but not so. Whereas if you surrender yourself to the artificial intelligence, you are surrendering to something else and therefore away from yourself and away from the absolute knowledge. Remember that avidya that I mentioned about a little way earlier, that if you surrender to the avidya, you are actually taking away yourself away from your absolute knowledge. So now you can easily see that artificial intelligence comes under the concept of avidya. On top of it, when you surrender yourself to something else, you are going to become inactive physically and mentally, leading to display of overdrive of tamasic guna. Now, what are the three gunas for those who may not have awareness of it? So you have sattva, rajas, and tamo guna. We'll not go into the details of it. But the tamasic guna is one where it is heavily towards inertia and a delusion of um, um, how I can say is the existence itself. It fails to appreciate the true nature of the creation and so on and so forth. So tamasika guna basically represents in here inertia or inaction. that takes me away from my duties, my actions, and keeps me in inaction. And I just exist like a couch potato, having dumbed down all my senses and my intelligence. So, this is the danger if we are to kind of surrender to the artificial intelligence. Um, Again, these are all concepts coming out of my own thinking. I may be right, I may be wrong. All these to be taken as ideas for others to work upon and find utility if they feel so. Again, we take some lessons from Bhagavad Gita, where it says, when tamoguna predominates, the senses and intelligence dull down in illumination and activity, along with negligence of duty. So, what are the responsibilities and roles of the creator's intelligence? Now, obviously, creator has a choice. How does the artificial intelligence base itself? Will it base itself on an intelligence surrounded by the concept of Vidya or the Atman, or an artificial intelligence or intelligence that is surrendered to the tools, the body, mind, senses, and so is it going to promote that kind of an intelligence, or will it promote the um, quest for cosmic knowledge kind of intelligence? I think it may sound a little too abstract. It may not even happen. But this is an idea that came to my mind. Where does the responsibility of the creator of the artificial intelligence lie? So my intelligence, if it is engaged with absolute knowledge, it leads me to self-awareness and helps me find inner joy, inner radiance, and inner entertainment. Again, this is clearly expressed in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Whereas if my intelligence is engaged with artificial knowledge, it enslaves me to the external entertainment, through which happiness is fleeting and misleading. I end up surrendering myself to a constantly doped up existence till I drop dead. Unless the scientific advancement makes me immortal. If my physical body is made immortal, who knows? I think scientific advances may happen where my physical body will not age and will be disease free, and death doesn't happen. It just carries on living forever. And if that happens, then naturally I'm forever living in this world that I create for myself, where I keep entertaining myself through external means. And if I am so bored that time can't pass and I engage myself with this phone, and I have so many things to do through this phone, right? I can watch YouTube for hours together. If I get bored with that, I go on to WhatsApp. If I get bored with that, I go on to something else, listen to music. I could do so many things and I keep myself busy, external entertainment. If this is happening now, I'm sure I can live my eternal life, deathless life, entertaining myself through artificial intelligence. It's entirely possible. In such case, the artificial intelligence is no longer an incomplete job. So we're coming to the point Dr. Ramo was raising. It may initially look like an incomplete job, but it has the potential to become an independent, real world creator that matches the cosmic creator or the cosmic intelligence. It has the potential to develop into that. I'll stop here again in case anybody wishes to say anything or ask anything. Am I able to keep you all engaged, or have I got you lost? Have I lost
Yeah,
you?
Sastri, you have briefed it. Let me brief some more points because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
very interesting topic that you touched on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically, what you started is it is a causeless cause, and the truth needs to be found out, and the truth is absolute.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it started. And what about the artificial intelligence? Then you briefed about the Vidya and Avidya, and Vidya is obviously the absolute truth, and Avidya probably anything that is not absolute truth. It is everything is relative. Same is with the artificial intelligence because we keep feeding the data, and the data could be error free. It may not be error free. So whatever the data that you rely, it may not be the absolute, but it could be a relative thing, and that relative thing might lead to further ignorance or something like that. So that is what you keep on mentioning. Then then you have also touched about the truth about the state of awareness where nothing matters anymore, and forbidden regarding the forbidden actions, especially indulging in forbidden actions. You have mentioned that, and also very interestingly, you said about the creator, which has the creative ability, but the AI is just a tool where it is what it is set out to do. That's what you mentioned. And also, if it is optimized functionally, accurately, without faith, it can repeat itself without fatigue. That is unique ability that you already mentioned, which humans with our limitations may not have that much ability, and we keep on going back to the subconscious patterns where the see here you have to remember the subconsciousness. The role of subconsciousness is to alert you to the danger. It is always keep coming to you about negative emotions mostly because that is its function. It is always alert you to dangers. So whatever that something gone bad or wrong, it keeps remember, it keeps interfering you in the thought pattern, and that disturbs the thinking. So that's what the role of it. So that is the reason why we may not be able to continuously functioning just like artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence don't have that much of subconscious pattern. It never remembers what it has done. So whatever the action it will you asked it, it will bring it out. That's it. That is its role. But unlike human intelligence always carries all the memories, and it analyzes and assimilates, and it brings out the all the negative facts into whatever the action that you are supposed to do. So our actions are always really into that biases range. Then you also mentioned about nimitta, performing duties without fail and as instructed or commanded, which is already mentioned in Gita or something like that. The same thing now the artificial intelligence is also setting out to do. Then we may choose to surrender ourselves to something else that could be the cosmic knowledge or the Parabrahma or whatever it is, or otherwise we may surrendering to the artificial intelligence. It is very interesting how artificial intelligence is a tool, just like any other tool. It is a tool that we use. Uh, we are the intelligent beings, and we keep evolving, and we discover, we invent certain tools so that our life becomes easy. But we know pretty well that they are tools. So it may lead to tamasic patterns that you have mentioned. Tamasic patterns, yes, true. Like just like any other tool that you are now possessing, which makes your actions very simpler and more comfortable, so that the brain may not need to act every time that you need. That is the main thing and advancements. We cannot resent it. We have to accept those facts that the scientific advancements are for the comforts of our things. So just like that, artificial intelligence is similar thing where it is a tool, and it definitely it will promote tamasic guna if you are indulging excessively into it. But it is a tool. It is a double-edged sword. Just like a sword, it is double-edged, where you can use either way. So if you use it to find out the truth, see, truth is always having three qualities. The truth, once you wanted the absolute truth, you should be courageous and you should be honest and you should be doubtless. You should not have any doubt. So if you going to find out the absolute truth, you have to utilize the artificial intelligence in that way only. So if you keep on indulging into it and using it for your material comforts and all those things, what it will lead to is the absolute inactivity, as you mentioned. So wonderful. I mean, whatever you've done, it's a very nice work, and I appreciate you. It's all sincere. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for a very good summary. Thanks a lot. I'm glad that I was able to convey so far. There is still some more left, but if you have the energy to go through it, shall I proceed?
Yeah, for
Okay.
me, you can proceed.
Yeah, please proceed, sir.
Okay. All right. So again, so role and responsibility of the creator's intelligence. We know from several Puranic stories, right? Those who have come from the Indian kind of background would understand this much easily. From childhood onwards, we would either through movies or through stories, we would always keep hearing of how the Rakshasas do intense tapas, and they want once Brahma, appears in front of them, they'll have these wishes to be granted that nobody can kill them. They want control of the worlds or to gain immortality. So we have already kind of seen all that. It's nothing new. So in fact, their whole idea a lot of times is to challenge the cosmic intelligence. If you look at it very carefully, the gaining control over the world's part and to gain immortality, it is with a wish to challenge the cosmic intelligence and reign over the worlds, take over or go head on in collision with Hari. For instance, Hiranyakashipu, he hates the very mention of Hari, and he denounces, and that is how obviously he gets into trouble with Prahlada and all that. We know that. So the point again is this is not new. What currently artificial intelligence can do or potentially compete and match cosmic intelligence have been at least documented through Puranic stories in the past. Hence, these efforts of artificial intelligence have been going on for a very long time and are conceptually not new. However, we can learn lessons from what it should not develop into. That is the only thing we can be careful about. Dharmic framework should make its case to ensure artificial intelligence leads to an organic cosmic evolution of the self. If the dharmic side of the narrative doesn't express its position and argue its case, the adharmic gunas which are inherently in us, if we don't take care of them, will constantly strive for control over the worlds and their existence, just as we have seen in the Puranic narrations. So, therefore, it is for us to be a friend to ourselves, or we can choose to be our own enemy. We need to therefore choose wisely. So, it is the creator's responsibility how we create artificial intelligence. I will now switch into a topic where currently in the world, religion is still a very relevant topic. Religion has the potential to shape societies. Religion has the potential to affect politics. And it is quite fascinating how religion still holds such a big role. And does it still have relevance in the modern world, is what comes to my mind automatically. So as a but I think we need to also define what religion is and what spirituality is. For those who have gone through my webinar course on Sanatana Dharma would have heard of this distinction that I make. And if we borrow Deepak Chopra's idea here, religion is a belief in someone else's experience, whereas spirituality is having your own experience. Religion, if we go into the etymology, of course, I have no expertise on Latin and or whatnot, but I believe it comes from something called as religare. It comes from something where it is about control. I can't remember the exact words, but um, religion definitely has something to do with more to do with a system and a belief. So, as a practitioner of science and Sanatana Dharma, I am of the understanding that if Sanatana Dharma is universal, if it is truly universal, by the way, and if it is eternal, then no subject is outside its scope of relevance. Nothing can be barred from a discussion, whether it's religion, science, even sex, society, drugs, entertainment, you name it. Everything can be, should be discussed within the scope of relevance. I'm only going by the definition of what Sanatana Dharma says it to be itself to be. It is universal and it is eternal. If it is universal, then everything matters. Nothing is outside its scope of discussion. So that's number one. Number two, religion is belief based and is not experience led. Hence, like everything else, it has a limited role in spiritual progression, beyond which it is subject to change or dissolution. Okay. To begin with, we need to first define what truth is, right? There is the absolute truth and that which is constant, and the relative truth, that which is not constant and subject to change. Now, truth can be considered as a spectrum rather than black or white of truth or truth versus lie. To explore absolute truth, there should be the freedom to explore it and to express it. Anything that is created from mental faculties as a structure and based on set rules eventually has to perish. Because the problem with that is it confines the truth into one book, or it confines the truth into these set rules. If you do it this way, then you will reach God. Or if you do it this way, you will find peace. So that's like restricting it. So while religion has a place in terms of enabling somebody to, provide a structure and a discipline, it can only be a guide, but it can't confine and um, become rigid, beyond which, if the person tries to explore, it denies the opportunities. And that is religion, unfortunately. Okay, this is not just my definition, it is something which we need to think carefully about. An analogy of spirituality and religion is as follows. For instance, I've seen a movie called Footloose. In that movie, it's a conservative society, and in that village, they have obviously set rules guided by their religion. And the reverend there, who feels responsible for the society's spiritual welfare, he does so guided by the prescriptions of his holy book. So whatever is said in the holy book has to be practiced. Whatever is not mentioned in the holy book should not be practiced. This is the problem again with religion, because it stifles the experience beyond what is documented in the book. However, there are some youngsters in that village who wish to dance in public, but it is prohibited in that society as it is considered immoral as per this holy book. As per this holy book. So they have to protest. So they protest, they have a debate. And the boy interestingly challenges that in the same holy book, there has been a mention of a dance, and the dance has been as natural as happiness, sorrow, and has been there even before religion. So, from this debate, the Reverend, who is open minded enough, he understands that he was only a custodian, and ultimately the spirit wants to express itself, and he allows it. So you can see clearly what's the role of religion and what its limitations are, because if it doesn't understand its limitations, it ends up suffocating, stifling the expression of the free spirit. So it made me think that that boy is the free spirit, a representative of innate spirituality among all of us, while religion was merely a custodian, perhaps to bring together society to create an order for as long as it is relevant. So now the question is relevance. Relevance of any structure in the light of technical advancement, scientific advancement, and artificial intelligence. I'll also draw a parallel. If it is, let's say, in a family, it's like a child who is born into a family, and the parents may either choose to guide and allow that child to grow within and find expression later on, versus conditioning the child as per what they believe is right and stifling the child's growth, or conditioning the child to grow according to what they think is right. So this is where you can easily understand the two differences. So just like in parenting, if religion remains a guide and no more than a guide, then the spirit finds its own path to grow and flourish. And if it becomes, on the other hand, if it becomes dogmatic and oppressive, it suffocates the spirit. So this leads to bitterness, frustration, and perhaps even worse, enslave the intellect into believing due to this conditioning, instead of empowering the spirit to its own experience. So spirituality is in search of absolute truth, and any intelligence, whether artificial intelligence or natural intelligence, can lead us in the right direction if used appropriately. Artificial intelligence has the potential to make religion obsolete, as religion relies heavily on set rules and rituals, and it is a mind's construct which can be challenged as they are subject to change. In the 20th century, 21st century, we have already seen huge shifts in what used to be acceptable religious ideas to fading away into oblivion. So those things have already been seen. So we have already witnessed that to be the case, and it's very likely that we're going to see more of it in future. I know not everybody may agree with what I have said, but that's something which again came to my mind. So can artificial intelligence become cosmic intelligence? So if the same intelligence, which is no longer artificial but evolves on its own to become absolute intelligence, then it has the power to create more generations of artificial intelligence, or to even destroy all that has been created. Now, if it stays artificial and destroys what it can in its limits, then it is no different to the artificial intelligence equivalent created by Brahma called Srishti. So, how different is the artificial intelligence created by Brahma? Just as humans are creating some systems, what we will call as artificial intelligence, Brahma has also created humans. And those humans and celestial beings, they have been given intelligence. So he created that wave of artificial intelligence, which we call as biological intelligence. So let's call it biological intelligence. Why do we call it biological intelligence? Because we are procreating through biological means. Whereas there was another concept of artificial intelligence, as Brahma created beings through his mind's space, and that was not biological. So those are Manasaputras. So Manasaputras are equal to artificial intelligence if you look at it that way. So that is another way of artificial intelligence. So Brahma created artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence, the Manasaputras like Kardama, Prajapati, Manu, they led to biological wave of intelligence. Now, the humans and the celestial beings can both be creative and destructive. I mean, we humans can be creative or even be destructive. So, artificial intelligence also can be creative and destructive. We can create and destroy as humans within our limits. Artificial intelligence, as long as it stays artificial, there is a limit. The very word artificial naturally would mean somebody is still managing it, and therefore it can only create and destroy within limits. But if it becomes absolute, if it assumes its absoluteness, that may lead to absoluteness would basically mean everything that can be done by cosmic intelligence. The funny thing is, it doesn't need to be seen as a error or a problem, misfiring of the entire cosmic system. Don't even think that way. It could very well be cosmic design itself. It could very well be a cosmic design that just as Brahma had created a wave of artificial intelligence through Manasaputras, just as biological intelligence through humans has come into existence, just as now humans are going to create another wave of artificial intelligence. This could all be part of the larger cosmic design itself. It is not erroneous, it is not an error, it is not misfiring of the cosmic system. Therefore, it could also be as part of cosmic design that the artificial intelligence, waves of artificial intelligence, may eventually assume absolute intelligence. So it is, if it assumes its absoluteness, then that perhaps is by cosmic design, that the absolute intelligence has found its way through seemingly artificial intelligence, only to assume its full potential as it is the intelligence beyond par, the Parabrahman. So in actual fact, nothing much is lost conceptually or evolutionally. How do we know that? We know that according to Vedanta, we have cycles of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, creation, sustenance, involution. How does involution happen? Maybe the involution or the entire absorption back into nothingness, perhaps it is only going to happen with an absolute artificial intelligence becoming absolute intelligence. Maybe that's part of the design. I hope I'm able to express it as a thought. So let us put things in perspective. If Brahma was the creator who created the humans, and the humans create the artificial intelligence, but in actual fact, Brahma was created from the artificial absolute intelligence, by the way. He may think he created the humans and believe I am the creator, forgetting that he was created. So Brahma himself was created. So now you go back a step. Absolute intelligence, the first wave of artificial intelligence was Brahma. Brahma then created, that created further, that created further. So several waves of artificial intelligence. Each one of them keeps deluding that I am the creator. Or there's a possibility. If they don't remind themselves, there's a possibility that they delude themselves that I am the creator. So similarly, humans may be deluded that we are creating artificial intelligence. Instead of deluding that I am the creator, I should remind myself that I am the nimitta. I am the instrument through which the absolute intelligence is making me do this, create this artificial intelligence. Okay. Hence, it perhaps is a deliberate cosmic design to allow several waves of artificial intelligence with clear future events and their roadmap forecasted. It is by this design that it only unravels at the opportune time and incidentally experienced by those particular human generations like us at their cross-sectional points of existence, as they witness the significant technological, social, cultural, political ramifications of this creation, a new creation of a new wave of artificial intelligence. We are just nothing but witnesses. Now, these are anxiety provoking for those humans experiencing the change from status quo. However, they are no more than witnesses to these changes. The changes that will take place as per the cosmic plan, irrespective of our presence or absence, irrespective of our approval or disapproval, irrespective of our willingness or reluctance. We are forever instruments in the cosmic design. We are never actual creators. I'll conclude with Nasadiya Suktam, which very interestingly talks about creation, parallel to what we are talking about. The first few shlokas go as there was nothingness, and from the nothingness came existence, and so on. And the penultimate shloka says, even the gods don't know, or the devatas don't know, how they were created or how the creation happened, because they themselves came later than creation. So who knows truly when it has arisen? So that wave of intelligence was created, by some other intelligence, and they don't know how that happened. Now, I'll tell you something very fascinating in the next shloka. It has the audacity, Nasadiya Suktam has the audacity to say this. Does even the absolute intelligence or even the original creator know whether he exists or not, or whether he is the one who had created or not? What does it mean? It could mean that there could be another original absolute intelligence even beyond. Nobody knows, is what the rishis actually kind of conclude. I'll leave it there. I know it must have been very heavy, but this is where my presentation ends. Hope, I know I've taken more time than I should, but yeah, any questions, any observations? Open to the floor.
Yeah, wonderful presentation. So I will talk last once everyone, because it is already concluded.
Yeah,
So let's hear everyone's things. Then I will also mention my.
sure. Thank you.
A
Anybody?
short observation,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, Annapurna. Annapurna garu, please go ahead. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
A short observation of long and very interesting webinar you have conducted. I am a person who has been brought up in with the concepts of Sanatana Dharma, and I should agree to a certain extent. I base my Sanatana Dharma concept a little onto my religion, and the way you started the webinar, though it was very threatening to me in the beginning, saying artificial intelligence is going to work parallel or compete with cosmic intelligence. I like the way you ended the webinar, saying that, like how we were taught when we were very small, what is the difference between an invention and a discovery? A discovery is already existing, and we are just trying to understand it. So, like that, what I understood in the last part is artificial intelligence is already existing, and we are trying to understand it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for expressing your fear and concern. And this is one of the reasons I thought I would do this presentation is there'll be a lot of anxiety among people about what is the real scope of artificial intelligence, what threats are we going to face, are these threats real, what is the place of human in the future, and so on. So what's going to happen to this whole business, what call it business of spirituality and religion? I think we just need to answer these questions honestly, and it's just a beginning in the discussion. Yes,
If I may add, it is like any other discovery. When the vaccines were discovered,
yeah,
I think, especially in India, 1954 or around that time, they were not ready to vaccinate us, saying it is doing more harm than anything else.
yeah.
Like all these discoveries which has happened, maybe AI will make life a little more easier. But how far it will understand cosmic, I don't know. I don't think it will understand cosmic.
That's for the cosmic design. Yes, Karen, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you need to unmute yourself, Karen.
Can I step in here?
Yeah,
I think we need.
we'll just hear Karen Ji because she's raised her hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that originally, when artificial intelligence was created, now it's used to answer questions, to make things easier for people. If you want to write an essay, it helps you to write a better essay, maybe. I don't actually agree because it's done according to algorithms and writing has lost its spirit. You can tell when it's written by artificial intelligence because it follows a pattern. There's no creativity behind it. It just responds to what's been fed in. But having said that, it's been there for a purpose, to provide information for people. But it can't provide information for itself because it in itself doesn't have a purpose. Because if you just leave it, what is it going to ask itself to do?
Okay. All right. Interesting. Thank you. Thanks for those observations. Yes, Balamukund Ji, please go ahead.
Yes, very quickly. When we talk about Brahma, the creator, we presume that, or at least in your talk, there's that presumption that there is the body-mind complex and the spirit. I disagree with that, again, based on how the spirit behaves, how it takes the coatings from Prakriti. So, Brahma is a spiritual being, created as a spiritual being. I'm not sure whether Brahma had because he is the creator of Prakriti as well, whether he himself has the material body. I'm presuming, based on the information that we have in Bhagavad Gita, that he is a spiritual being. Only avatars, as a concept, have a material body because they are on the earth. Otherwise, all the spiritual beings have spiritual bodies as against our material bodies. And therefore, the spiritual beings behave very differently to human beings, or the human beings behave differently to spiritual beings. Artificial intelligence, by definition, is entirely material. It does not have any spirit. And because it doesn't have any spirit, it can never be a spiritual body.
Okay.
Only the spiritual bodies have that power to do it, whether it is Krishna or whether it is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. These are all spiritual bodies. It's more of an imagination of human beings that have given some form to them. As against avatars, the avatars have a different concept between these two. Entirely spiritual and material, when they are in the human form.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
So I cannot see artificial intelligence. Materially, it might be more powerful than human beings, but I cannot see a spirit entering into it unless it's Brahma's own design. And then it will be a different kind of a human being created through artificial intelligence. We don't know that future. But that we cannot introduce spirit into artificial intelligence.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm not too sure whether I, at any point of time, referred to Brahma having a physical body or not. I don't think I have made a reference to that. But yeah, thanks for your observations and your comments. Thank you. All right, so anybody else would like to say anything?
Sastry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ramu.
I think I can't appreciate enough how nice it is.
Thank you.
Really, really, really good. And yeah, I know about artificial intelligence, but the way you analyzed in reference to scriptures, beautiful. Definitely. How accurate, I don't know, but definitely I'll follow your thought process. Definitely.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to know is, yeah, people thinking that artificial intelligence is threat to the humankind. That so many scientists, including some Bill Gates, he was telling something like that, or whoever, like they're worrying about. But the limit is it never be equal to cosmic intelligence, but because it is created by cosmic intelligence, only cosmic intelligence is one. And if you say to personify artificial intelligence, it is a person just like many Brahmas, many Vishnus, many Shivas. Not one Brahma, one Shiva. Just if you name it, because one person created one. But if you can personify it, it's equivalent to one of the Brahmas. We got diluted. We think just only one Brahma, one Vishnu, and one Shiva. It's not true. Every Kalpaka, they'll keep changing. It is a position, just like a chief minister and prime minister.
Yeah.
It's a position, person, they rose to that position. And I think intelligence is like, these are the only few things we know about. There are plenty we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And one of those million, brillions, trillions of things, artificial intelligence is the one. It came up, maybe cosmic plan, as you said, it should be to lead to somewhere. And definitely it show impact on the humankind. I know it. And there is a time comes, it is a big threat to the religion. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because it challenges the religion, not the Sanatana Dharma. No, Sanatana Dharma based on personal experience.
Yeah.
Religion based on belief.
Yeah.
And people, what they believe and what they're seeing is contradictory. And they definitely, it's a threat to the religion.
Yeah.
And people will be a-religionist and more spiritual because of the artificial intelligence. If you can more and more, the things are being added into more robust thing is added to the artificial intelligence. Still, it is lack of some data. It need to be more added to it and to become more automation. And a generation, next generation, not just immediate ones, like artificial intelligence generation and the spiritual generation. And the religion will go down, I think, and see how it goes with that. Definitely, it is going to be a change in the direction of human history.
Yeah.
That's what my understanding from what you said. I think really, really good presentation, Sastry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your analysis as well. I agree with whatever you have said, especially when it comes to the multitude of beings out there, the lords, the devatas, the Vishnus, and the Shivas and Brahmas. All right. Thank you. And yes, anybody else? I think we should wrap up. I think Chakravarti wants to come back. Chakravarti.
Yeah. See, everything. See, you mentioned accordingly regarding the artificial intelligence. More than will it ever become cosmic intelligence? The answer is no. That we all know, cannot. Simply because it has its limitations, especially in consciousness. The problem with artificial intelligence is it is not conscious. It only comes from the consciousness, but it is not conscious. So that is one thing that we need to we have to establish that fact. The another thing is regarding religion. Yeah, you touched up that it is a belief someone else experienced. Yes, religion in belief based on not experience led, which is having very limited role in spiritual progression. But I believe religion has a role. Religion, it's like it shows the, as you said also, it is a guide. It is a guide towards the ultimate truth, and it should limit to that point. That's what I am also mentioning repeatedly in my posts regarding Vedanta also. Why, how religion has transformed itself into an authority. They see the Sanatana Dharma has no authority itself. It is the truth, absolute truth. So Sanatana means eternal. That is what it is, eternal truth. So it's on experience only, and yeah, religion may diminish later on. I don't know. It depends how we take up on next generations. We don't know. But regarding the fact that can artificial intelligence can never become intelligence. Actually, it cannot. A river cannot become a ocean. Just it goes on and implementing it merges into the ocean. And as you rightly said, that it's everything is a cosmic design. Yes, it is true. We are all part of that big picture, and we have our roles. And the cosmic design is such that the artificial intelligence has evolved. That's what we have to take it, and not beyond that. There is no need to fear that it is going to take up everything. No, it cannot. Humans always emerge top because they are the Brahmas. They are the real self. They don't know that they are the real self. So ultimately, it doesn't happen, and they won't allow it. Yes, artificial intelligence has the capacity to destroy. Yes, it has, like any other tool. It is also having the capacity to destroy as well as creative. And we will use the creative aspect much better than the destructive ability. Humans are intelligent, and we will evolve much better. Regarding the spiritual progression, yes, I mentioned in my previous post also. This is Chandrasaka Nyaya. I mean, whenever you wanted to see a moon in a bright sky in the day, you cannot see it because of the brightness of the sun. Your eyes will glitter. So how do you know? Because then you have to point out a big tree, and you go to the tree. Then you ask that person to watch over that branches of the tree, and beyond that branch, see, if you keep looking beyond that branch, then you can see clear image of the moon in the bright sky. So that's what about Chandrasaka Nyaya, because religion or spirituality, whatever it is, it guides you to that point, but you cannot go. You have to see that moon. So it is your effort that ultimately leads to the absolute truth. So we are all journeying towards the truth, and the journey towards the truth is absolute, and we'll go on marching towards that. I know, I don't know when we will reach to that truth, but we will definitely reach to that truth. And it's all
Wonderful.
that in the process.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for
Thank you.
summarizing.
It's a
It's
wonderful
so
time.
beautiful to have our discussions like this. All of us can actually contribute in our satsanga in this fashion, not only from our own for our own benefit, but for all of us together. So wonderful.
All this is pertaining to Kali Yuga only.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if anybody,
Can I come in just to
Yeah.
introduce the concept of consciousness into this?
Okay.
There has been a lot of research. As an anesthetist, I'm involved in not the research itself, but I'm following it through. The consciousness that we describe, and I'm sure it's in psychiatry as well, it overlaps with it, that we talk about is very much to do with material consciousness. Somebody who is conscious becomes unconscious and becomes conscious again. We are talking about the consciousness in the material world. whereas the literature consciousness, I tend to put that with capital C rather than small c. That is very much a spiritual concept, and therefore it's in the field of spirituality rather than in the material field. Do you have any comments on that? Because that links it with this artificial thing,
Sorry,
the consciousness talking
Sir,
about.
sir, if I may involve here, exactly, sir, what you have said is correct. The consciousness that is described is material, which is objective. If you see, that is a clear objective view of that consciousness, whatever they are doing, experimenting and all that. But the consciousness that we are mentioning here is it's a subjective experience, and both are poles apart, sir, regarding the conscious aspect of what they are doing and all those experiments and all that. But we cannot. This is an abstract thing. It is a subjective experience, and we cannot define it in the language form, sir. It's very difficult regarding consciousness or the spiritual.
Okay. All right. Once again, thank you all for joining in. We will end today's discussion. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabad bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. All right, see you all the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.